It is the Coral Stewards Cup at the Qatar Goodwood Festival on Saturday. Perhaps they've saved the best for last in many respects. A 28-runner handicap on the sprint course. Always a fantastic spectacle. That's going to be the main focus of our Saturday preview. I'm Ben Linfoot, joined by Matt Brocklebank from Sporting Life and Andy McLaren from Timeform to chat through the great race. Goodwood, we've got to Saturday. How's it been, Matt? It's been a wet one.
It has. It's going to remain that way, isn't it? I think, yeah, it's a tough playground at the best of times, isn't it? Goodwood Racecourse, always a tricky track. As we record, there's still 2/5 of it still to go, though, so there's always hope. It's been a tough week so far for my punting, but yeah, a race like the Stewards Cup is a fantastic one to get stuck into, and always gives us that chance of maybe snaring a big prize winner to end the week. Yeah, welcome along, Andy. A rare face in the studio, but you've been looking at the weather forecast, and it looks like we're going to get a bit more rain on Saturday.
Yeah, I mean, that Tuesday was quite grim, wasn't it, with all the rain that came. We've had a couple of dry days at Goodwood. The ground's dried out a bit, I think, but it looks like there's more rain coming on Saturday and more wind. It looks like there could be quite a strong headwind for them on Saturday, so I think you're going to want a horse that goes in the mud and probably want a bit of cover as well away from that wind.
Yeah, so we're working on the basis that it is going to be at least soft ground at Goodwood on Saturday. We're going to look through the key video form for the race. Like I say, the Stewards Cup, our main focus for this video preview. And to help us kick off proceedings, we're going to look at the Timeform ratings just to help us out. And we've got a Charlie Hills trained horse there at the top, a Ratio Matt, who is a lightly raced horse, and this type of contest could be ideal for him.
Yeah, I think that's a crucial element that you've touched on there, is that he's top rated with Timeform, and he is still open to a fair amount of improvement. Look, this is a horse who missed the whole of 2022 after being tried at group level as a juvenile, but he's been making up for lost time. He might have let down the favourite backers in the Wokingham. That was last time out. That was when we saw him last at Royal Ascot, but he remains very promising, having won twice at the start of the season. That was with ease in the ground as well, when he won at Newmarket, and then when he followed up as well on soft at Ascot. That looks the key to him, so I'd imagine a few of these horses will have been laid out for the Stewards Cup, won't they, in the hope of good summer rattling quick ground. But Charlie Hills will be the opposite, and he'll be absolutely delighted that they've got more rain on the way for him. Favourite already. Not hard at all to see his price contracting further as it keeps falling on Saturday afternoon.
Okay, and rated just a pound off Orazio, and he's Ali's Dancer.
Yeah, when you look at them ratings, you've got to remember that those Timeform ratings are what a horse is deemed to be able to run to under the optimum conditions. Now, I don't think it's going to be optimum conditions for a lot of those horses on Saturday, but one horse it definitely will be is Ali's Dancer, who it really is a case of the more rain the better for him. He's had 4 runs on soft or heavy ground, and his form figures under them conditions are first, and first. So it really is a case of the more rain, the better for him. If it goes heavy, he's 16-1 at the moment, and I can genuinely see him going off single figures if it really does get testing on Saturday.
Maybe a plunge horse then, Ali's Dancer. I always like to look for an informed sprinter coming into a race like a Stewards Cup. You want to know the horses that are thriving, and I think Abrama Gold, he's certainly in that category, isn't he? After winning at York only last Saturday, recently transferred, of course, from the retiring Keith Dagley's to David O'Mara's yard, and we can spot him here, and you will spot him because he's on the left-hand side in the white and red silks, tanking all over them under Mark Wynne, and I think he did well this day to pick up the horse that went clear on the far side.
He did, yeah. It looks like he's sort of challenging away from that horse as well. So look, the ground that he's made up here in the closing stages just shows he's a sprinter in really good heart. As you say, switched yards to David O'Mara. That's the big draw with him, really, because he shaped pretty promisingly on the stable debut as well. And he's already delivered for the new yard. He's a cracking little horse. It feels like he's been around for ages, Abrama Gold, but he's still only 6. The revised mark is 92. He's got to effectively run off 95 here under the £6 penalty. But, he's still got that scope, hasn't he? Because in the past, he's won off 98. That was in an all-weather handicap. He's got form running off, in big handicaps, running off 3 triple-figure marks. And he's 2 wins on soft, 1 on heavy, so he's absolutely fine on the ground. I think he's got a really good chance of hitting the frame at Abrama Gold again.
Yeah, he's clearly thriving again, isn't he? And a massive player. And I think his form comes in clusters, doesn't it? When you look through his record, he tends to win and then run well. And he could be a horse who strings another good performance together. Abrama Gold on the radar. Now let's have a look at some form from Epsom earlier in the summer at the Derby meeting, because we've got 3 horses here, Andy, who reoppose with Badri, Apollo 1 and Mr Wagyu taking each other on again, and they were the first 3 this day at Epsom.
Yeah, this could be a really key piece of form for Saturday, like you say, with the first 3 here all taking each other on again. For me, the one to take out of the race was the 3rd, Mr Wagyu. Now, this was a race that was run at a really furious pace, and Mr Wagyu was up in the van the whole way. He's done really well to stick at it as long as he has. If you look at the other horses that were up there making the run-in with him, they're falling out the back of the telly. And then these 2 come from the back and pick him up late on. He's also better off at the weights with these 2. He's about £3-4 pound better off at the weights with the 2 who beat him at Epsom there. And yeah, I like Mr Wagyu. I think he's got a big chance on Saturday.
Yeah, I would agree with everything you've just said there. Mr Wagyu won the consolation race for the Stewards Cup a couple of years ago in soft ground off just a £4 lower mark. He bolted up that day by almost 3 lengths in a time quicker than Comanche Falls won the main race, the Stewards Cup, later on the card, and he was carrying £7 more as well. And with the John Quinn team flying, I think he could be the best.
That's the thing, isn't it? I know we were having a bit of a ding-dong in the office earlier because around the ground and more rain, maybe I was suggesting might be a negative for him. But I think over the time, they've just discovered how versatile this horse is, isn't
That's
it?
the key thing.
He does handle it perfectly well. I think in his earlier days, he was a non-runner due to soft ground 2 or 3 times, and you just sort of think, oh, that might just be a negative. The more rain coming, because he has won on Good to Firm, but he just goes on anything. He's just a cracking older horse for the Quins, isn't he? And they just seem to thrive with age. Those horses from that yard.
He's a strong horse, hard as nails, and I think he'd run through pretty much anything for you. The Stewards Cup, 28 runners. We've got to have a look at the pace map and where the pace is going to come from. We were just talking about Mr Wagyu there. He is drawn centrally, and when he won the consolation race a couple of years ago, he came across to the stand side. Now, we could be looking at 2 or even 3 groups here, but just looking at that pace map cluster and where the early pace is, Matt, just talk us. Yeah,
so I know it's hard to decipher the names exactly, but bottom of the screen is the high numbers there, more towards the stalls are in the centre, but they're more towards the stands rail. I do expect the 3 groups initially. It's hard to escape that, isn't it? Because you've got those really drawn to the wing. They're pot committed, aren't they? The ones in 1 and 2 really do have to head towards that far rail, or you're giving yourself very little chance. Hyperfocus is low. He's probably going to inject the pace over on the far side, but generally speaking, I'd be looking for middle to high this year. I know that when the draw was made, the first 3 to come out on Thursday, the first 3 to come out, they chose to go into 20, 14 and 6, and 6 is actually the favourite, Orazio. So it's a pretty even spread, but quite a few were keen to avoid the very, very high numbers just by the stands rail. I know John Quinn was one, and he said that he was thinking that the ground might just be a little bit poached come the weekend with more rain coming as well. So centre to high, you've got pace in the middle. I do expect, I don't think, what I'm trying to say here is I don't think you're going to end up with 2 really clear groups and just 1 or 2 horses marooned in the centre. I think the centre isn't going to be a bad place to be at all. And towards the end, they tend to sort of converge anyway, don't they?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think one thing is guaranteed, Andy, it's going to be a strong gallop.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, you see that pace map there. I think it's a very strong pace forecast on Timeform, and you'd expect Mr Wagyu to be one of the ones who's taking them along. You saw Hyperfocus in stall 4. Looks like it's going to be running at a furious pace, and just something to bear in mind. I mentioned that headwind at the start. Maybe you want to get a bit of cover away from that wind, but yeah, it's going to be a typical 6 furlong big handicap sprint, loads of pace.
One horse who is probably going to get plenty of cover, normally being held up, our last video clue, Matt, is Juan Lapan, who I know you tipped him when he ran a cracking race at Royal Ascot, but we've got him winning here at Nottingham earlier in the season. Yeah,
he's been on the shortlist for this all year for me, to be honest. He was just one of those horses that, again, just seemed to be coming back to the ball. This was it. He was right back on it this day at Nottingham. This was 2 starts ago. He didn't let anyone down at Ascot. He ran a belter. He actually finished 3rd ahead of a bunch of these, including Orazio. and Mr. Wagyu, did he run at Wokingham as well? Maybe not. There was a few others in there. The massive issue I have is that this day as well, it's a nice sunny day. His form's on better ground. It's not just on better ground. Most of his winning form's on good to firm ground. So soft conditions got to be a concern for Juan Lapan.
Yeah, one other I wanted to mention was Spanish Star, who has got a remarkable course record, really. He's been first past the post at Goodwood 5 times.
You do see it with these course specialists at Goodwood, like Petickside and some of those other sprint handicappers.
He's a proper course specialist, and I don't think he'll mind the ground. I don't think he'll mind the big field and the strong gallop. He's around 20-1, and I am all Mr. Wagyu, just to make it clear. But he was one that was just left off the shortlist, and I think he could run well. But let's just round up the Stewards Cup. Any others you want to mention and give us your selections? Start with you, Andy.
I mean, if I haven't already give it away, I'm fully with you on Mr. Wagyu. I think he's just got loads in his favour. He's down
headwind.
Yeah, I'm contradicting myself a bit with the headwind, but he's just got so much in his favour apart from that. He's down to a really good handicap mark. I mean, he was winning at the Curragh last year of 100. I think he placed back at the Curragh. He came third on heavy ground of 103. He's down in the 90s now. John Quinn, who mentioned his form, I had him down at the start of the week before Goodwood was out of form. He actually didn't. He had one winner in the whole of July, but then at Goodwood this week he's had 3 runners as we record on Friday afternoon, and they finished first and second. So the trainer's back in form. He loves these big field handicaps, and I just think there's loads to like about Mr. Wagyu. And the other ones I wanted to mention really was there's 2 of Julie Camacho's. I don't really know which one.
They're both interested, aren't they?
Yeah. I think of the 2, I'd probably be drawn a bit more to tactical, just because I think this looks a bit more of this has been the plan for him. He's had a bit of a break. He's had a wind up in that time. He's got first-time cheek pieces on. He's another who's well handicapped in his old form, and when he was with Andrew Baldwin, he was campaigned mainly over 7 furlongs and maybe in a mile sometimes. So I think a strongly run 6 furlongs on soft ground could really suit him.
Yeah, he's had a break, wind surgery, cheek pieces. They've thrown the full mashings at him, haven't they?
Yeah.
Interesting. Matt, same question to you.
Yeah, the other Camacho is significantly, possibly more of an Ascot horse. I hope Mr. Wagyu gives Abrama Gold a lovely toe into it. They're drawn very close together. Hopefully Abrama can get a little bit of cover. Since the turn of the millennium, since 2000, we've had 7 Stewards Cup winners have been carrying penalties. So it's clearly no barrier to success, that sort of recent victory in recent weeks. He's one of 4 in this year's field carrying a penalty. The other one I want to mention, stall 22, a rare sprinter for the Sire Camelot, is Sterling Knight. I just think he's been a horse that's just looked better than ever in his last couple of starts at Windsor. He won with loads in hand in June. If you go back 2 starts, and then he was unsuited coming wide off a slow gallop. The first 2, he finished third last time out. The first 2 had the race between them from an early stage, and he just wasn't suited to the way that unfolded. He's clearly in good heart, I think, still. And if you go back last year, October, he's kind of one of these autumn horses, really. He won on heavy at Haydock, so again, another one, more rain the better. He's going to need a little bit of luck, as he'll probably be delivered a bit later than Abrama Gold. But Tom Marcon comes in for the ride. He's actually ridden him once before, and he won at Wolves. That was back in his 2-year-old day. So a positive booking for Sterling Knight.
Okay, but main selection, Abrama Gold?
Abrama Gold, yeah, and I probably will split stakes with Sterling Knight.
Okay, so 2 for Mr. Wagyu, 1 for Abrama Gold. We're just going to quickly go for the best bets elsewhere on the card on Saturday. Andy, have you got one?
Yeah, I'm going to try and take on Free Wind in the Lily Langtry Stakes. I mean, yeah, it's a bit of a controversial one. It goes without saying, I think.
I like it.
If she turns up in her best form, she's probably going to win. But I think there is a question mark over that after that last run in the Hardwick, where she just wasn't herself at all. She was really poor. And I like Lucia Casati in that for Tom Ward. Now, I was really impressed by the way she beat Time Lock at Goodwood earlier in the season on good to soft ground. And since then, she's run once since. It was in on fast ground at Haydock in the Lancashire Oaks, where she was dropped out the back, and there went no pace in front. It turned into a sprint. The front runners dominated, so I don't think she was seen to best effect at all there. Stepping up in triple really suit her, back on soft ground at a course she's already won at. And looking at it, she's double the price of Time Lock when we're looking at the prices now, and she's already beat her once this season. I see no reason why she won't do it again. And if Free Wind disappoints, I think she'll be the one to take advantage.
Matt?
Mr. Curiosity, that's in the Coral Summer Handicap over 1 mile and 3/4. Tim Easterby's got him, seems to have sweetened him up. I'm going to take on Sweet William, who's looking for the third win inside a month. They're trying to sneak him into the Ebro, I think, under a £4 penalty. So, yeah, Mr. Curiosity for me.
A couple of best bets there from the panel after going through the Stewards Cup. I hope that's helped you pick your horses from the 28 runners in the Saturday highlight. Enjoy the final day of the Qatar Goodwood Festival.
You can watch more Sporting Life video by clicking on the left here, and you can download the free Sporting Life app in your app store now for the latest news, expert tipping insight and big race analysis, all at the tap of a finger. Users must be 18 or over to sign up to the Sporting Life app.